Wednesday, February 2nd, and this is 5 on 20, where the news is dark, but the newscaster shines bright like a diamond. I'm Anias Quintella. First, let's talk local headlines. Arizona Republican Representative Paul Gosar is continuing to make us proud by taking part in the destruction of our land. Gosar has introduced a bill that would weaken regulations that limit oil and natural gas drilling in national parks. HJ Resolution 46 would eliminate the 9B regulations set by the Obama administration in November of 2016. The regulations involved so-called split estates, where private owners maintain mineral rights in sections of national parks. Some national parks that have split estates are the Everglades National Park in Florida, the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, and the Grand Canyon. Gosar said that the regulations, quote, jeopardize significant investments made by job creators, states, and private companies. Nicholas Lund, senior manager at the National Park Conservation Association, says that the law will seriously damage surface lands and waters. He also worries about the Congressional Review Act, which is looking to be overturned by congressional Republicans. If the Republicans were successful, then there would be need to congressional approval in order to reinstate the regulations. Canadian author Linwood Barclay has canceled his appearance at the Tucson Festival of Books as a protest against the Trumpkins Muslim ban. Barclay said via Twitter that, quote, it is with deep regret that I have canceled any trips to the U.S. for book events, at least until the travel ban is lifted. The author said he made the decision when he thought of other creatives who aren't able to come here. He mentioned the Iranian director Asghar Farhadi, who is nominated for an Academy Award but will not be able to attend the ceremony because of the ban. Barclay said that he feels uncomfortable being able to come to the U.S. while someone like Farhadi is banned. The organizers of the festival said that they supported his decision, and so do we. The Tucson Police Department is creating a community advisory council to ensure that the members of the public will have a voice. The council will have 7 members who will collaborate with TPD in getting input from the public on new policies and initiatives and work with residents to address community concerns. The department is looking for a diverse group, so anyone is welcome to apply. A panel of representatives from the Border Action Network, Pima County Public Defenders, Southern Arizona AIDS Foundation, Tucson Chamber of Commerce, and the Tucson Indian Center will review applications. Applications are due March 1st. To learn more about the council or to fill out an application, visit TucsonPoliceCAC.org. Next week, Tucson city leaders will hear a presentation on a proposal for 193 miles of bike-friendly streets. The project, which would cost about $37 million, seeks to reduce bike accidents. Studies have shown that bike boulevards have much lower accident rates than traditional bike lanes. Bike use has gone up 4% per year in Tucson, the increase coming from the establishment of the Loop, the 112 miles of bike paths snaking through the city. Matt Zoll, coordinator of the city's bicycle and pedestrian program, says that the boulevards will give an alternative to riders who are uncomfortable on major streets. He says that some of the boulevards are planned to run 8 to 10 miles long with speed limits, special stoplights, dual lanes, and special markings, all which can add up to $160,000 per mile. Despite the cost, Zoll says that it will improve the quality of life in Tucson and increase property values in some cases. In 2016, Arizona experienced a 30% increase in reported cases of human trafficking, according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. This goes along with a nationwide increase in trafficking. In Arizona, there were 151 cases reported to the hotline in 2016, up from 117 in 2015. Officials say that the increase is mainly due to increased awareness about the problem. Attorney General Mark Brnovich says that his office has engaged in education and awareness to fight the problem and has been more aggressive in prosecuting human trafficking cases. The report comes at the same time as the Gem and Mineral Show comes to Tucson, an event that traditionally leads to increased incidents of human trafficking due to the massive amount of visitors to the city. The Tucson Police Department says that every night, 75 to 100 women are being sold for sex during the Gem Show. TPD is working with the University of Arizona to fight human trafficking in the area. A $1.5 million grant from the Department of Justice was given to the TPD to get more resources to crack down on human traffickers. Kodak Health offers training on recognizing signs of human trafficking. Some of the signs include seeing someone deliberately avoiding eye contact, someone with little to no personal possessions, or someone who is acting especially anxious. They also say to be on the lookout for young women with much older men, particularly if those men have orange skin and a bird's nest on their head. All right, it's snake shooting time in Arizona. The state approved a law that allows city residents to shoot vermin, specifically snakes and rats, using small caliber guns loaded with tiny pellets. Even better, the law allows residents to shoot the tiny pellets, called rat or snake shot, even if it's not to kill a snake. Freedom at last. We can legally shoot a pellet gun in the city because America. The vote came down across party lines, with 35 Republicans voting in favor and 25 Democrats opposed. The law was made to amend a 2000 law aimed at celebratory gunfire after the death of a phoenix struck by a stray bullet in 1999. It is now a felony to fire a gun within city limits or within 1 mile of an occupied structure, except for self-defense or dispatching an animal with a permit. But the felony will no longer apply to guns using snake or rat shot. So Arizonans can now bring in the new year with blast of snake shot into the air, just like our forefathers. Lawrence doubled down, saying that this has nothing to do with snakes, but rather that it was a firearms bill strictly and totally. However, the Arizona snake and rat community is questioning Lawrence's motives. And on Tuesday, about 500 people gathered to protest in downtown Tucson to voice their opposition to Donald Trump's recent Muslim travel ban. Protesters met from 4 to 7 p.m. in front of Senator John McCain's office. While McCain and fellow Senator Jeff Flake have come out against Trump's executive order, they have yet to take any action. Activists are hoping to urge the senators to further condemn Trump's ban and use their congressional powers to fight back on the ruling. 5 on 20 was there to capture Tucsonans' view on the ban.
We're here outside of Senator John McCain's office, also the site of Operation Streamline, the federal court system that tries over 70 migrants a day and sentences them to jail time and then deportation, an apt site for the No Ban, No Wall protest.
McCain and Senator Jeff Flake have come out against his executive order, but have yet to take any action. Protesters are prompting the senators to use their congressional power to fight back against the ruling. We're going to go out into the crowd.
Peace, destroy fascism! We're here at the No Ban, No Wall protest. A lot of energy, people of all ages. I'm going to see if we can get anyone to tell us a little bit about why they're here.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I am here to show support for immigrants and refugees in Tucson. That's really the simple part. Really excited to see people out, feeling like we all need to be getting out on the streets and expressing our opinions a little bit more, and I feel like that's waking up in Tucson, so.
That's wonderful. What other ways are you mobilizing and getting people around you to mobilize around these issues?
Yeah, great question. So I'm a graduate student here at the University of Arizona, and I'm in geography, and I study energy issues. So I'm really involved in those conversations around renewable energy transition. So going to meetings, trying to get students and professors and other people in the community together to have discussions, trying to follow policy and stay engaged. So those are some of my tactics, yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And what was your name?
Remy Franklin.
Thank you, Remy. Would you like to say anything for the local 5 on 20 news about why you're here at this protest?
Well, I think our sign pretty much says it all, yeah?
Yeah. Immigrants, refugees, we stand with you. Yes, would you like to be on the news? What does your sign say?
It says no ban, no wall.
And what does that mean to you?
I hate Trump. Make him shut up his business.
What's your name?
Renee,
Renee? Nice to meet you. Why are you here today?
I'm here to protest this fascist president we got and to stand up for refugees of all kinds, from Syria and immigrants, Mexican immigrants, for human beings. I'm here to stand for human beings. And let this fascist president know that this is not America. America welcomes everybody. America doesn't discriminate against religion, sex, or race. So we're not gonna let him destroy America.
No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. No hate, no fear.
What's your name?
My name's Steve Johnston.
And why are you here today?
Oh, well, just read the sign. Tucson welcomes refugees. That includes everyone, especially our neighbors.
Yes, and can you tell me a little bit about your shirt that says "Shut Down Streamline"? How is that related?
Now you asked the right question. You see this building right here? Every single day, that's a federal courthouse. At least 4, sometimes 5 days a week, they arraign, counsel, charge, try, plea, convict, and sentence shackled up to 70 shackled men and women every single day. And it's been going on since 2008, and over 300,000 people in this very building have been sentenced to jail for trying to help their families. by crossing the border without documentation and without inspection. It's not a felony, but they're charged with a felony. But they have to plead to a non-felony, to a misdemeanor, which is crossing without inspection. And they're then sentenced to a minimum of 30 days in jail. Hey, darling. They're sentenced to a minimum of 30 days in jail and up to 180 days in jail. This costs the United States $500,000 a day just for the sentencing time. These people, every single day, up to 70 people are sentenced to a total of 5 years in prison. Now, that's not the cost of the judges and the contract lawyers and the room and the bailiffs and the Border Patrol and the U.S. Marshals. That's just the cost of incarceration. So it's a terrible thing happening right here every single day, including today, most likely.
Yes, and how can people get more involved in ending Operation Streamline?
End Operation Streamline.org, or just Google End Operation Streamline, and you'll find several different ways of accessing it, including the ACLU, including grassroots, and a lot of different groups.
Hello, I'm Leah Malin for 5 on 20 News. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're doing here today?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer any questions. If you have any questions for the department, you can contact our PIO office.
All right, and what exactly are you doing right now?
Like I mentioned, any questions you have reference this event, you can contact the PIO.
I wanted Senator McCain to know that we appreciate that he's one of the few Republicans with the courage and integrity to stand up to Donald Trump. And as much as we appreciate that, we need him to not only keep doing it, but stand stronger, louder, clearer for as long as it takes. I hope it doesn't take 4 years. I'm hoping it'll be less. And he also needs to rally support amongst other Republicans who hopefully day by day are getting more and more frightened by this administration. So,
thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think that says it all.
All right, thank you. You too.
Zaira Livia.
What are you doing here today?
I was a speaker, and I am speaking against this white supremacist regime.
In what other ways do you think it's going to be important to mobilize in the coming times?
Oh my gosh, in every way. What we've been seeing this week is the consolidation of power by this new administration is absolutely dangerous. They're filling state departments with their inner circle. This ban that has happened is absolutely unprecedented, as in it wasn't illegal immigrants, it was people with visas and people with green cards, and they weren't allowed to see their lawyers. So this is revocation, immediate revocation. We saw them ignore the judges' rulings. This is pretty extreme.
And where are we looking to now for the coming months and weeks?
They're banking on people getting tired and not doing kind of seeing where our strengths are. So what we need to do is constantly be out on the streets, constantly holding our elected officials to a really high standard. And I mean not just a simple little apology letter like the one that McCain released. We're talking hard resistance from our elected officials, and really just us showing up and being there 24/7, letting nothing slide, nothing pass us.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Bashir Mayahi.
And why are you here today?
I'm here supporting my girlfriend and her family. Her sister has been waiting for 9 years to come here, and she's in Iran right now, waiting for a phone call. But because of this, it's not gonna happen for at least 3 months. So we're here supporting her.
And what kind of feelings are you and your girlfriend's family dealing with right now?
Well, right now it's nice to see all these people here supporting our country and freedom. So it's a great feeling right now. Solidarity. Hi, yeah. It's actually her sister.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Padia.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the situation with your family?
Yeah, so we all moved here 8 years ago, and my brother got here 2 months ago, so he got here just in time, before all this. And we're still waiting on my sister. He was supposed to be here this summer, but I don't think that's happening anymore. So.
We're just very happy that everyone's here right now. Hopefully it'll make a change countrywide, all the cities together.
Yes, what's your name?
My name is Kishma. I am Muslim and I'm not a terrorist.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's about 5:45 right now in downtown Tucson. I'm Leah Malin for 5 on 20 News.
And now in national and international news. It looks as though Vladimir Putin is testing Donald Trump's devotion to the Russians. Yesterday, violence broke out in the eastern part of the Ukraine between Ukrainians and Russian-supported separatists. 19 people were killed in the attacks, and thousands in the Ukraine were left without water and heat while they battled below freezing temperatures. Both sides blame each other for the outbreak of violence, occurring 2 years after a ceasefire was declared in the Belarusian city of Minsk. Minor skirmishes have broke out after the ceasefire, but this has been the bloodiest so far. In response, the U.S. offered only a tepid condemnation of the attacks. Acting State Department spokesman said that the U.S. was, quote, deeply concerned by the violence and called for an immediate ceasefire. The problem is that our president is more deeply concerned about the attendance of his inauguration and can't be bothered with this whole foreign relations thing. Neither Russia nor the separatists were mentioned or given blame, despite feeding a conflict in the Ukraine that's killed over 10,000 people over 3 years. However, the U.S. Organization for Security and Cooperation, which is made up of career diplomats, made it clear that Russia and the separatists started the conflict. These diplomats are expected to be fired by the Donald come tomorrow morning. This comes at a time when Trump has said that he may ease of lift sanctions on Russia as he seeks to restore the relationship between the two countries. The president of the Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, said the quote, "The shelling is massive. Who would dare to talk about lifting sanctions in such circumstances?" To answer your question, Petro, the same guy that would use a Black History Month speech to talk about how big his election win is. Republicans are already getting started on removing environmental regulations in support of Trump's signing statement yesterday. The statement vowed to remove arduous regulations for industry by forcing officials to find 2 regulations to remove for every regulation added. While no one's talking about adding regulations, the Republicans are sure finding a lot that they can remove. House lawmakers are using the Congressional Review Act in order to strip away regulations made in the last 60 days of the Obama administration. Yesterday, the House voted to strip regulations protecting streams from debris caused from mountaintop coal mining. The debris has been shown to pollute local streams and cause sickness among surrounding communities. Republicans hope to show support to the coal mining industry as part of Trump's pledge to bring coal jobs back into the country. This pledge is despite the widely held view that coal is fading as a primary energy source in favor of other types of fossil fuels and alternative energy. Coal has been on a steady downturn over the past 20 years as it's become too expensive to extract. Arizona Representative Raul Grijalva said that Trump is ironically sickening the very people he sought to save, which is a pretty good metaphor for his presidency so far. Next up, Republicans look to kill off an Obama order that reduces the amount of methane released during oil and gas drilling. Methane is about 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide as a heat-trapping gas. If that regulation is successfully killed, Congress will move on to their next bill, which will allow Congress exclusive access to Mars once the planet is destroyed. Billionaire Peter Thiel purchased joint citizenship in New Zealand, according to documents obtained by The Intercept. Thiel is an advisor to Donald Trump. He's also a Silicon Valley entrepreneur who is seeking to curry favor with the new administration. Thiel is best known for finding the Hulk Hogan sex tape that ended up bankrupting the website Gawker when the site outed Thiel as being homosexual. According to the documents, Thiel was approved citizenship by the New Zealand government due to a loophole in the law that allows wealthy individuals to be citizens even if they've never lived in this country. As part of his citizenship proceedings, Thiel had to pledge allegiance to the Queen of England. Also in the documents, Thiel lists his business acumen in the various tech companies he founded as reasons why he should be admitted as a citizen of New Zealand, which was approved in 2011. According to the New Yorker article, Thiel gained citizenship to New Zealand so that he could ride out the apocalypse, which he's helping to create while advising Trump. So, just to review, the guy who works for an administration that claims America first declared his devotion to the Queen of England. In related news, Reince Priebus is reportedly taking steps to join the Universe people in Czech Republic, where he will declare allegiance to their leader, Ivo Benda. British MPs overwhelmingly voted yesterday to allow Prime Minister Theresa May to begin Brexit negotiations. In a 498 to 114 vote, the country's parliament ushered forward the UK's exit from the European Union. Among Parliament, only the left-wing Liberal Democrats opposed the bill. May has until March 31st of 2017 to invoke the Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty, which would release the UK from the Union. Next week, the bill will move on to the House of Lords and the Commons before official approval is made law. Brexit squeaked by in a referendum last June with 59.9% in favor and 48.1% opposing. Little is known as what the effects of leaving the European Union will be. May has been insistent that England does not want the open immigration that is part of the Union's contract, but wants to retain trade with the other European countries. Her view has been criticized by many as wanting to have her cake and eat it too. They say that there is no way to get good trade deals when you're not complying with the other aspects of the partnership. And stories are trickling out as to how Donald Trump's Muslim ban is impacting citizens around the world. One story detailed the sad story of an Iraqi boy named Dabreen, who was badly burned after a heater exploded at the refugee camp where the boy was staying in Iraq. Dabreen was allowed to come to the U.S. for treatment at the Shriners Hospital in Boston. While he was being treated, Dabreen's father returned to Iraq to be at the birth of his second son, who he named Trump. Irony then ensued when Dabreen's family was refused entry into the U.S. due to the Muslim ban on 7 countries, including Iraq. Currently, Dabreen is staying with family in Michigan and has a 3rd surgery scheduled for February 5th. In response to the situation, Massachusetts Attorney General Marla Healey is suing the Trump administration to try and get the ban overturned. In related Muslim getting screwed over news, an anti-ISIS activist who is #1 on the group's kill list is stuck in Iraq due to the ban. Vian Dakhil, an Iraqi lawmaker, was due to travel to Washington, D.C. next week to receive a humanitarian award. She was awarded for her work on behalf of Iraq's Yazidi people, a minority religion who have been especially targeted by the Islamic State. Dakhil says that she has a visa, but it's unclear if she'll be able to go and is currently stranded in Baghdad. Dakhil received national recognition when her tear-filled plea to help her people led President Obama to direct the military to protect the Yazidis while ordering further strikes on the Islamic State. Let's hope Trump doesn't get blood on his hands since he's a germaphobe and all. In addition to the 11 lawsuits facing our new president for his recent Muslim ban, the Trumper is in court for a completely separate reason. A federal judge ordered a gold club owned by Donald Trump to reimburse members who were denied access after paying a deposit. The Trump National Jupiter Golf Club will pay about $6 million to members after a Florida judge found that the club violated its contract. The club collected deposits from prospective members who were put on a resignation waiting list but were never granted access to the club. Rather than give the deposits back, the club held on to the money. The class action lawsuit says that when Trump took over the club in 2012, he changed the contracts, which the judge says was a violation. Brad Edwards, the attorney representing the burn members, said that the club, quote, created their own contorted reading of a contract that allowed them to avoid the refundability of the deposits. Alan Garden, the Trump's organization lawyer, who Trump partly handed off his business interests to, says that the decision will be appealed. Despite owning the club, Trump was not named as a defendant in the case, which is probably for the best since he has enough to worry about at the moment. First Lady Melania Trump is considering staying in New York instead of moving to the White House during her husband's 4-year term as president. Previously, Melania said that her and her son Barron would stay until the end of the school year before moving to D.C. She says that they will reevaluate the decision at the end of the year and base it on how large of a crowd the protesters appear outside of the White House. Some media outlets have reported that providing Secret Service to Melania while she stays in New York would cost up to $1 million a day. The fact-checking website Snopes says that it's impossible to estimate how much the protection would cost. However, the site said that it wouldn't be a stretch to say that the protection would be, quote, a massive expense, which is the same term Donald Trump uses to describe Melania. And I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about the program you're watching right now. Here at 5 on 20, we are undertaking a new kind of citizen journalism. We're going to give you the news as we see it, and we want more people to speak up with us. We need writers, hosts, anchors, camera people, sound people, the whole gamut. The times require a new way of informing ourselves. So join us. Do it. Do it now. Email us at info@creativetucson.org to get involved. And if you think there's a story we're missing, a person we should interview, an upcoming event we should cover, or have any news tips for us, shoot an email to info@creativetucson.org. We're here for you, and we want to cover all stories from all points of views, so don't be strangers. This was Anais Quintella for 5 on 20 News. Next up, Andrew Conlog shares his take on Tucson history.
Salutations, everybody. My name is Andrew Conlog, and I'm here with a brand new segment that we like to call Andrew Explains It All, where I take a topic that's of interest to me and hopefully to you, and I explain it, hopefully all of it. So you have some cool conversation starters for cocktail parties or your in-laws or things like that. And today, for our inaugural episode, I'm going to talk about something that's very near and dear to me, and hopefully for you as well. It's Tucson, the city, and its history. We know that Tucson is the old Pueblo, but just how old is it, and what has it been up to in all that time? What kind of fascinating things have been going on? Well, I'll tell you. You know, this whole kind of southwestern area was settled a while ago. It's been settled by people for a while. But Tucson itself as a community traces its roots back to the oldest contiguous inhabitants of this area, which are the Tohono O'odham, which is a Native American tribe. Tohono O'odham, in their own language, that phrase means desert people, and that's what they are. And actually, it was a Tohono O'odham village that was really the start of Tucson as a gathering place, as a community. It was at the base of Sentinel Peak, or as we also call it, A Mountain, because of the big U of A on there. And that village, I'm going to do my best with this one, but no guarantees, is called, or was called, Chukson, something along those lines. And what that means in the Tohono O'odham language is at the base of a black mountain, which it was. It was at the base of Sentinel Peak, which is like a dead volcano, basically. That's where Tucson gets its name, too. Just like me, I'm actually descended from Spanish settlers, so my ancestors could not pronounce that either. Hasn't improved in however many years, as you can see. And they came up with Tucson, or I don't know exactly how you would, the correct pronunciation in terms of the original pronunciation that the Spanish came up with. But then, of course, the Americans couldn't pronounce that, and that's why we have Tucson, and so on and so forth, maybe forever. So that was the kind of the beginning of Tucson. The next major group, cultural group that came in to settle the Tucson area was the Apaches. And now a lot of people that are cursorily familiar with the Apaches might be surprised by this, but the Apaches are actually relative latecomers. They came maybe around 1,000 years ago, roughly or so. And archaeologists think that they immigrated from Canada, from the northern Canada, Alaska type area, and came on down. They think that because the Apache and Navajo languages, the Apaches and Navajo are related, are real similar to languages up there, which is very interesting, at least I think so. And that's how they came to be here. And they were they and the Tohono O'odham were the two big groups in this area until, as I alluded to, the arrival of the Spaniards. A lot of people are familiar with one of the first Spanish settlers here, Father Kino. He was a missionary, and he founded San Javier del Bac, the mission church, out in the desert a little ways over there. But as with the Spanish modus operandi, and actually a lot of the European colonizing guys, after the missionaries came the soldiers. And the soldiers are actually more involved in the founding of Tucson as like a modern European conception of a municipality kind of thing. Make no mistake, the Tohono O'odham are responsible for this community, but from like a city-type perspective, we trace the actual founding of Tucson to the Spanish in 1775. It was founded by a guy, a Spanish military officer, named Hugo Oconor, as a presidio, as like a fort that was designed to protect the Spanish guys from the Native American guys, for good or for ill, for both those groups of people. Sharp-eared listeners will detect that the name Hugo Oconor sounds weird. That's because it is. That was not actually his birth name. His name was Hugh O'Connor. He was an Irish guy who was just kind of like a mercenary dude who moved his way up the ranks in the Spanish colonial military and became a big shot and was founding forts. And he founded the Presidio San Agustin del Tucson in 1775. And that was that for a bit, but then in the first sort of nation-state hand-changing that Tucson went through, it went through a lot. Tucson became part of Mexico after Mexico revolted from Spain. And then, not too long after that, another shakeup. Most of Arizona became part of the United States of America in the Mexican-American War, and that was signed over in the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848. But actually not Tucson. After the Mexican-American War, Tucson was still part of Mexico. But then again, another shocking twist, not for long. Tucson and the area surrounding it, actually the little strip of land in Arizona below the Gila River, and then a tiny little bit of New Mexico over here, becomes part of America through what's called the Gadsden Purchase. It was just bought. It was exchanged for money. And that was originated by a fellow named James Gadsden, who did all the negotiating and things. And in 1854, Tucson becomes an American town. But then again, not for long, because Tucson and this little area actually becomes part of the Confederate States of America. That's right, this used to be part of the CSA, the Rebs. We were rebel people. And what happened there was that the Confederates come from the state of Texas. Texas was a Confederate state, and they kind of swoop in right at the beginning of the Civil War and take over actually like the bottom part of New Mexico and the bottom part of Arizona. The whole territory up until then had been a big territory of New Mexico. Both Arizona and modern New Mexico were one big territory. They kind of claimed the bottom half of that as the Confederate territory of Arizona. And they captured Tucson, actually without a shot being fired, because a lot of the local Tucson guys were big rebel folks, which I guess is neither here nor there at this point. But then one final time, Tucson changes hands in terms of nationality. And the Union reconquers it. And the way they do that is there's this big group of Union soldiers coming from California called the California Column that march out of there, and their goal is to march through this new Confederate territory of Arizona and take it over, and then maybe even fight the rebels in Texas. So that's exactly what they do. They march largely unopposed. There's a tiny little battle where like 3 or 4 people get killed up by Picacho Peak, if you ever heard of that. That's what that was. And then basically after that, the Confederates in Tucson were like, well, can't do this anymore. They're coming. So they all fled. And Tucson was then recaptured by the Union, again, without a shot being fired. So not a lot of action, but the Tucson area does play a pretty, I guess, important part in the Civil War. And then finally, for sort of the epilogue of all this early Tucson history, in 1863, after it was reconquered, Abraham Lincoln proclaimed for the first time in history as a political unit the territory of Arizona, where he split Arizona and New Mexico down the middle like it is now, and Arizona became its own territory. And for a while, our own old Pueblo was even the territorial capital. Not anymore, but for a while anyway. Well, that is my explanation of all of the early history of Tucson. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.